We got up next up here is going to be the right guard battle. I would include Luamea in here, but I think it's really going to come down to these two guys. Luamea's got some potential. I'm not tossing him out. He's going to be showing back up on this list here in a second as we're going through it, but this is going to come down a little bit like the prior discussion we just had with those two guys. This is more one about starting, but it's more also one about somewhat of a similar kind of situation. One guy is a big, massive athletic freak show that was raw as hell coming out of college. The other guy was a multi-year starter coming out of college who was supposed to be very pro ready. There's no assembly required. You take it out the box, it's already set up. Just put it out there on the table, it's good to go. And instead, it didn't quite turn out that way for us, did it, on that side, unfortunately. As Christian Haynes had a real disappointing opening rookie year there were a couple of flashes in there. It wasn't completely horrible. It was just, by and large, not good. In Bradford's case, he came out 13 games starting at LSU when he originally came to the Seattle Seahawks. Very raw, very little bit of actual playing time out on the field. He needed time. But he was a 99 percentile type of athlete. And with that kind of build and that athleticism, this scheme that loves mobile offensive linemen, that really does stand out. And I think the way you hear the team talk about him and giving already some praise here early on throughout the offseason, talking about how he's looked and OTAs and best shape of his career, blah, blah, blah. You guys have heard all that stuff before. That they would, I think, like to go with this guy because he is the athletic guy that fits more purely to the scheme, perhaps, than Haynes. Haynes has familiarity with running zone-based scheme. He did it at UConn, so it's not that he can't do it. It's just that maybe he's not quite as athletic, not quite as physically dominant in his potential. He's more of what he is going to give you long term, which is the realization of what he offered as a draft prospect. So you hear that he's pro ready, you hear that he should be ready made, that you've got a pretty good solid floor. He didn't necessarily get the returns of that in that first year, and I think there's a couple of different reasons for that, but those returns will be there, meaning that when we get him onto the field, if he is the guy that has to take over for Bradford, because Bradford's just still too raw and he's just not able to refine the technique enough, especially in this very detail-driven scheme where it's not just about get the block done by any means necessary, but get the block done by the way that we're trying to teach you to exactly get it done. That's going to benefit a guy like Haynes a little bit, who's a little bit more technician-like in his approach than Bradford, who's more, like a bear trying to maul you in the forest. Kind of the difference between the two on that. So we'll see which way this battle goes, but please, by God, somebody take the starting job. Please.